Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, Lamar Stays Weird, coming to you once again, out of sight, out of mind. I know it's been that way for the last couple of weeks. I am sorry. I just had some stuff going on. I just wasn't really feeling up to it. I'm not gonna lie. And I've been binging shows lately. And when I get into a show, I want to keep going. I want to finish it. It's hard to watch anything else. And yeah, man, like I'm sorry that I'm kind of inconsistent on these things, but it is a hobby. I do enjoy doing it, and I want to be consistent, but it is 100% my fault. I got into writing some other projects, and I got really low. I got pretty depressed about it. Writing makes me kind of depressed. Yeah, I kind of figured that out. So that's a thing. But I'm still not gonna let that get in the way of me just like not doing this at all. I really do enjoy doing these videos, making the podcasts. It's fun. I really, really do enjoy it. But yeah, man, take care of yourselves, like mentally, like, you know, give yourself time to rest, enjoy some things, spend time with people, whatever, to kind of, you know, get you back to feeling good again. Make sure you're not harshing your mellow any more than you need to, or that the world already does. Take care of yourself, man. It means a lot. But all right, enough of the bad vibes. So we're going to move on to the good ones. And it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're watching this movie. And obviously, you guys can tell by the thumbnails and the titles. Today, we're talking about A24's Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I loved this movie. It was, dude, it was so funny. The trailer won me over like crazy, man. It was, and I know this is based in New York, but I, like a Floridian, I just resonated with this because of the whole hurricane and like the party, and then them playing the game Werewolf, even though they call it something else, which is, I guess, the younger crowd's a new thing. And probably from now on, because of how popular this movie got, it's probably just going to be Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And I haven't played this game, but now I really, really want to. So I need to go find a rich friend who has this big ass house that we can get a bunch of people to play this fucking game. And one thing I really like about this as well is I didn't really know anybody in this movie. Looking at the cast and like the directors, the writers, I don't really know who any of these people are. It was great. They executed a very well-crafted horror comedy. And contrary to popular belief, since the trailer definitely makes this seem like, oh, this is a movie for Gen Zs, like this is for them. We talk about TikTok, and sexual identities are there in the forefront, and some people would say in your face. And then it does have social commentary with classism, and a lot of the terminology that they use in the movie is definitely representative of what's going on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it. It is the language a lot of people use. And nowadays, especially the younger crowd, even younger than myself, and I'm only 27, but I still feel like there's this big gap between me and the younger generation. But this movie is for anybody, and I strongly believe that anybody can enjoy the movie. You can even have it to laugh at the newer generation, which I think is what a lot of people do, since they're in their cringe era. You know, that's just how it is. They're old enough now to be cringy, and their cringiness is on the internet, and it's gonna be there. And I think they're gonna learn that lesson from us, because I have cringy shit on the internet, and I look at it, I laugh at it. It is secondhand embarrassment, even though it's my own embarrassment. I don't fucking know, but I get it with having like your embarrassing moments on the internet, but it wasn't that bad. Now, everybody's like embarrassing shit is on the internet like all the time now. But it's a very funny watch, man. I think anybody can watch this movie and enjoy it. I know there's probably gonna be some people out there who don't like it for whatever reason. I already know probably literally the first couple seconds of the movie probably triggers some people, and man, just ignore those types of people. That's all dumb. But speaking of triggers, I think this movie could kind of trigger something. I think this could trigger people that have friend groups like this, or like toxic friends, or like a toxic relationship. There's definitely like some stuff like they incorporated quite a bit of, I wouldn't say stereotypes, but I guess like nowadays, like things that are very common, I guess you would say there are like nowadays stereotypes. They incorporate them in a very good way. All the characters are really good representations of who they are. Like you see these people, these characters, and you are gonna know you've seen somebody like that on the internet, in person, or you know somebody who knows somebody. Like you know these people when you see them. And then there's fucking Pete Davidson, which everybody fucking knows. And honestly, this is the movie that kind of made me like Pete Davidson. I never had anything against him, but I always just kind of didn't care for him because I don't know where he came from. Like out of nowhere, I just know I would see him on the internet everywhere. And I'm just like, who is this dude? Like, why is everybody talking about it? Like, who is this guy? He doesn't do anything. The only thing I saw was like, oh, he's done SNL and I think he's done stand-up comedy. And I would just see like the internet either like gush over him or be envious of him, of the women he's dated, which that's a whole other fucking thing. I don't know how he does it, but I mean, good for him. Like he's fucking bagging everybody in Hollywood. But this movie, I actually got to watch him in something and I'm like, all right, you know, he's actually kind of funny. Like I get it. And then I started to see more of him after this movie came out. I started to see him more in my algorithms and timelines, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, the guy's kind of funny. Like, yeah, so now Pete Davidson's cool to me. I look like I'm putting on my own twist of Mr. Rogers. You can call me Mr. Weird. Actually, yeah, don't call me that, but I mean, hey, whatever. Like I don't care. One day, I strongly believe this. I think one day people are just going to start going by username, aliases, or online tags or something. I think they're going to be legal names at one point because we already got some interesting ass names out there in the world right now. And like we're so far removed with surnames and like what they actually mean and all that stuff. Like we're so far removed from all that. We're going into the future. We're going to start seeing more people with single names. And honestly, would I legally change my name to Lamar Stays Weird? I don't know. Part of me thinks I would. This has been my identity for years, like for about 10 years or more. I honestly can't remember, but I've just been going by Lamar and Lamar Stays Weird. So maybe I'll actually be that idiot, you know, that sets it in motion. Local Florida man legally changes his name to his online name. And we're wondering now, is this going to be a new wave? Is this what the future holds, where everybody will now go by one name? I think that'd be pretty fucking cool, to be completely honest. So if we get to that point, hey. But already, enough with the nonsense. Let's get back to the basics so I can say this. Bars, man. Damn. I get them every now and then. I'm going to start incorporating them more often. My girlfriend hates when I do it, but I don't give a fuck. I got bars, bro. But all right. Tagline for this movie. I like it because you already know this is what people say. This is what old people say online. This is not a safe space. And that is a great tagline. Marketing, whoever came up with that, you know your audience, man. You know your audience. You know the movie. You know the material. Doing a great job. Thumbs up. Thumbs way up. Proud of you. Now, this movie came out in 2022. The anniversary just passed not too long ago. It came out on March 14th, so I'm definitely late. It was on my list to do, but like I said, I got caught up in my own shit up here, and I just pushed it off and it became a thing. But I still wanted to do the episode regardless because I do enjoy this movie. So yeah, we're gonna do it. So we're late, but movie's 2 years old. It's great. So if you have March 14th as a birthday, good for you. Now, this movie is sitting at a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb. I think that's probably pretty fair. I think that's fine. Letterboxd, the average is a 3.3 out of 5. And I think it had like 4-star reviews. I think it had like 154,000, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 154,000 4-star reviews. So it's pretty dope, and it was a big margin. I gave it a 3.3, so I'm right there in the middle, right in between the cheeks. So I thought it was good. I thought it was good. I've seen the movie, I think maybe 2 or 3 times, showed it to some people. It is a fun watch. It really is. It keeps you guessing. It's a weird whodunit with a twist that honestly I didn't really think anybody would guess whatsoever. There's no fucking way anybody could have guessed the ending. And I love how they did it. I think this movie is probably very realistic on how people would react, because that's all it is people reacting and things going wrong because of how people react. That's why it's good to just have your chakras aligned, man. Like, keep your shit together, try to be emotionally stable as much as possible, or at least emotionally mature, so that way when things are going wrong, you can keep a clear head, like you have an idea of what you're doing, you're thinking things through. That's how I am. And Bodies just really makes me glad that I am more of a logical person than I am an emotional person. I couldn't even really tell you how I developed that. I just know my parents are very much like that. My mom is the more logical one, kind of keeps the emotions in check, keeps the reins on it. My dad is definitely the emotional one. And it's like a balance, you know. I could go from one to the other, but I'm mostly logical. Sometimes I'm referred to as a robot or anything. It's just because I think things through. I like to actually think about things, because I don't want my emotions to just get the best of me and I react to something. I've already had bad experiences with that, and it's like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to react to things properly. And in this movie, they don't do that whatsoever. Everybody's just losing their fucking minds and shit just goes wrong. And going into this movie, I only knew 2 people from this cast. That's how much, like, these people are at least new, like new on the scene, new to me. This movie put 2 people on my radar that I'm glad I got to see, because it is now going to be a treat that keeps on giving. So I already knew Pete Davidson, and the other person I knew was Lee Pace. He plays Greg in the movie, who's going to be the older figure that I'm pretty sure there's some people out there who watched this movie resonated with a little bit more. He played Ronan the Accuser in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies in the MCU, so that's where I know him even then. Barely, but I know him from there. And the 2 people that this movie put me onto is Rachel Sennott. I think I'm pronouncing that right. She plays PJ in Bottoms, which that was another funny movie. And then this one is actually kind of funny. She plays Leia in The Idol. And I'm pretty sure some of you gotta know The Idol. Dude, I watched all of it. That was the show with The Weeknd. It was a big thing for a while, and man, it was something. But I love her. I think she's hilarious. She is such a shit poster and just like a meme lord. Like she gives off that energy, and she's my favorite character in this movie because she is so like ditzy. You know, she's like dense, and it's great. I don't know, like I love her. She's great in this movie. And then the other person that this movie put me on is Amanda Stenberg, and she's going to be playing May in the new Star Wars show that's called The Acolyte, which is mainly focused on like the Sith and the High Republic. So we're going to be hundreds of years into the past. We're not going to be dealing with anything with the Skywalkers, and she looks awesome as a Sith, man. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I'm really excited, and I think she's my crush from this movie. She's a total babe in this movie. There's always at least one for everybody. I dig her a lot. I love her look. Even my girlfriend and I were intrigued because every now and then you see somebody and we do it a lot, and mainly my girlfriend will be talking about how somebody looks like, oh, they look really good, or they look very unique, they have interesting features. And then we're like, wait a minute, like what's their ethnicity? Like what's their background? What are they mixed with? Like they're obviously mixed with something. But she's half Danish and half black, and honestly, very interesting combination. Created a lovely creature, and I can't wait to see what else she does. And she also voiced Spider-Bite in Spider-Verse, so honestly, her name's gonna start getting out there, and I can't wait to see what else she does, because once she's in Star Wars and the show looks like it's gonna be good, that's gonna put her name out there even more. So we might see her more in Star Wars, or we're gonna start seeing her in bigger, better projects. I don't know, we'll see. All right, enough of all the nonsense. We're going to talk about the synopsis of the film. So this is about this group of friends that is getting together for a hurricane party. That happens when everyone knows a hurricane is coming. It may be serious, it may not be serious, but I would say it's a bit of like a weird spring break, especially for here in Florida, because I think it is a common thing here. I just haven't really been a part of one, but it's kind of a common thing because a lot of things are going to close down. People don't have to work. Like, you're not really allowed to travel, or you probably shouldn't be traveling. So you just got to hunker down, hope for the best, wait for things to blow over, and then go back to normal life. So what people will do, they get together. They're just going to be staying together, keeping each other company, have fun, drink, smoke, whatever. People just meet up, have a good time, try to enjoy the fact that nobody has anything to do now. And of course, that is something that can only happen every now and then, because hurricanes can get very bad. I've been into a few, and I've been in a house when it's flooded before, you know, lost power for like days. I remember that happened when I lived by myself. That really fucking sucked. Like, I literally had like no one. My parents, I think, were still up in Georgia, and I think I didn't have power for like 2 days. So that really fucking sucked. So it's it's a thing. It can be hit or miss. And of course, some people could say like it's insensitive to have a party. You know, people are possibly dying, people are losing their stuff. Like, it does become this kind of like moral dilemma. So it's a little off. I get it. These group of friends are meeting up to do this at this rich friend's house, and they decide to play a game which is called Bodies, 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 which is pretty much werewolf. So, or if you want to compare it to something else like Among Us, the lights get turned off, everybody goes around, there's a random killer, you know, you tap them, they die, and then somebody discovers the body. You call a meeting, figure out who done it, try to vote them out. And yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. But unfortunately and unexpectedly, somebody actually dies. Everyone starts turning on each other. You start to see like the little passive aggressive like toxicities of friendships or past lovers. It becomes this whole thing. And like with strangers as well, like stranger danger. And you don't know who did it, because everyone kind of has like their own motives for just being an asshole, or they all show themselves to not be great people. And I like that. Nobody is like, oh yeah, this person's a good person. No, they're all kind of like, oh yeah, they seem nice. Oh, yeah, you could be a bit of a dick. Like, all right, or whatever. So it really gives you that gray area, just like how it is everyday life, where people aren't just black and white. It's a whole gray thing. And you get to see that a lot. As I was saying earlier about the first couple seconds of this movie probably triggered some people. Watching B and Sophie, they're a brand new couple. They've been dating just a couple weeks, and they're just making out. Like, it's very like, it's a close up. They're making out. You see like tongue, and then you see like over the pants rubbing. It lasts for, I think, like a little over a minute. And I know 100% there is somebody out there that it's made them uncomfortable and probably thought like, oh, the gay agenda all over again. This is what they're doing. This is why the youth is the way it is. We are lost, and, you know, we haven't found God, and blah, 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 blah. Like, get the fuck over it, man. I can't think of any now, but I know I've definitely seen movies that started off with people just making out, with like a straight couple just making out. So it's like, yeah, man, it's normal. Girls make out with girls. That shit is way more common than you fucking know. Like, there's jokes about it. Why can't the homies just be able to kiss and cuddle like the girls do? The girls can like touch, they can spend the night together, sleep in the same bed, and blah, 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 blah. They get to do all this stuff. And like, I can't kiss the homies and be like, yo, love you, man. Like, some friends don't even really feel like they can even tell another homie, yo, I love you, bro, without it being like a little weird or fruity or anything like that. It's like, man, tell people you fucking love them. Show affection. Of course, don't cross people's boundaries, but it's all love, man. Just show people you love them. That's it. It's whatever. And there's a lot of old ass people out there that are into some freaky shit. All right. I feel like not a lot of young people really think about that, because older people can be so judgmental about that lifestyle, but then like plenty of them are like cucks, or they like cross dress like secretly, or they like have like they go cruising and all this other stuff. So it's like there's a lot of freaky shit that people hide. They just don't like when people are out about their stuff. Like, they can be openly gay or openly trans, whatever. It's like, dude, get the fuck over it. People are into whatever. Like, just because you had to hide your shit doesn't mean everyone else has to. If you feel like you still have to hide your shit, it's the people you surround yourself with, or if not, you're just too busy being ashamed of yourself, when you just need to learn to love yourself and accept the fact you like these certain things. You might be a little fruity, you might not. Whatever. It's all love. All right, I digress. We're gonna move on again. Sorry. You guys already know how this is. I'm just gonna randomly talk about shit. But they go out of their way to go to this rich, in the middle of fucking nowhere, like mansion to meet up with Sophie's friends and I guess just enjoy the party. Thing is, nobody really expected her to come. There's definitely friction between Sophie and this group of friends, or at least like a little bit, mainly with Jordan, who is like the bitch of the movie. She does a fantastic job, the actress. She does a great job of playing that character because it's like, God, I can't stand you. But she's like very upfront and very blunt, and she's definitely like cunning and manipulative. That's all coming later. But everybody is a self-centered asshole in some way. That's why I don't think it's a dig at the younger crowd or the younger generations nowadays, because these people are just about themselves. That's it. And yeah, the problem is you can see these characters and be like, oh yeah, this is somebody I know, like I was saying earlier, but it's not a representative as like the generation as a whole, but those types of people who fit into that. And it's like, wow, they're literally this type of person. A lot of them are just narcissists. They only care about themselves. They're self-centered, want attention. Like it's, oh dude, it's a whole thing. But Sophie and B, they get there, they arrive. B is very introverted, and she is kind of our eyes. She's what we cling to. And I think they were very smart about this, because in this movie, they did a great job because they knew the crowd, the writers, the director, they knew the crowd, they knew the audience that would be into this movie. They gave us somebody who doesn't fit in to this crowd to connect with, to see what's going down through their eyes, because she's very introverted. She's foreign as well, so she's not used to all the customs. She's not rich, so she doesn't fit in with these rich people who just do drugs and party all the time, or have like these extensive backgrounds in education or popularity. So that's something where I could fit in versus like the crowd that's growing up completely on the internet and the internet alone and knows all the things about TikTok. Like even I sound old just talking about that when I reference TikTok. I do use TikTok. Do I use it like that? No, but I do use it. I do know of it. Do I know it to a T? No, but a lot of these kids do. My fucking nephews know TikTok and the lingo and the new words nowadays. Like, I don't know all that. So she doesn't fit in all that because she doesn't use any of that. So it's good for us, like a little bit older generation, to cling to her. And then there is another character, Greg, who is the oldest person there, that for the older people to connect to about how they used to do things different. They got like 3 different groups of generations that they can connect to over the last 30-40 years. Anybody in those age ranges could definitely connect to and enjoy the movie. But yeah, there's a bit of tension and distance in this group because Sophie, she did go to rehab, and so she got out of the loop for a little while and then came back, and now she sees them. They're all kind of surprised she's there, not really sure why she's there. And a few of them don't look happy to see her there, or the fact that she brought someone else, but for the most part, they try to be welcoming in their own kind of way. And one thing I could relate to in this film is B. She walks around this big house, and you can tell she's just like uncomfortable. She doesn't fit in. I've had plenty of friends who do come from money, and like I've gone to their houses, and it's just so weird. Like for me, I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with much. Hell, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, bro. That's how I am right now. And yeah, things get stressful. Like I try not to stress about money or anything like that, because I'm never going to enjoy life at all if that's all I do. So I just try to do the best I can and just try to keep moving forward, enjoy what I got, be grateful, be thankful. That's what I try to do. But having like these rich friends and you go to like these places, it feels so weird. I feel like more out of place than I've ever felt before. It's so strange to be surrounded and to be in somebody's like environment where it's like, bro, like I could never, I would probably will never live in something like this. So yeah, it's very insane, and it's uncomfortable. It really is for me. And I've had friends when I was younger that did have money. It was mainly their mom that was definitely the materialistic type. And there was definitely this gap in like judgment right there. She wouldn't really talk to me or acknowledge me much. They didn't really like us. and we knew that it was kind of obvious, but her kids always had so much fun with us, like in a fucking like rundown neighborhood and stuff like that. They were okay with that. They were cool. We were the fun house because we would actually, pay attention to them, treat them cool, let them have fun. Like, we get to have fun. We get to go out, explore, do stuff. Like, yeah, that's how it was for like us. They didn't get that treatment over there, and so like it's so weird. And it's like I'm glad I didn't grow up that way, because I feel like I wouldn't really like who I was, but of course you wouldn't really know, because me and then that person would be completely different. But I like where I'm at now. There's been times where I did have like a good bit of money. I could go out and splurge and do so much. And then there are times where I didn't really have much at all. So it's like, yeah, it's whatever. Like right now, I'm trying to look for more jobs and all of that because I want things to be different. I want to have more money to do more things, to provide for myself, because the world is getting tougher. It sucks. And it's what we got to do, man. And plus the older you get, like myself, you do got to take care of yourself. But I'm not trying to lose like my inner child. I'm not trying to lose my hobbies and just become another cog in the machine that's just like, well, I'm never going to be anything great, so I'm just going to do this job for like another 30 years and there I am. Like that's going to be my thing, like my little slice. I want my slice to be a bit bigger. I want it to have some other stuff. I want some ingredients in it. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm gonna get there. That's what I'm gonna do, and I hope the best, and the same for you guys. And for the most part, I mean, there's not a whole lot of things. There's like little things that show like the relationships between other people, but nothing I really have to acknowledge. But you see them spending time together, getting ready for the party, drinking, hanging out with B even trying to fit in. She drinks and she doesn't really drink, but there's definitely some other stuff to it. There's definitely some other background to it, because Sophie talks with David. They talk privately, and she talks about, oh, like, have you seen my parents? Have you talked to them? And it's like definitely there's something. I think whatever that incident was that put her in rehab, that's what caused like a lot of this friction. And we don't dive too much into it, but there's all these different things. Like Sophie used to date Jordan, and then there's things about Sophie that are being said while B's hanging out with all of them, trying to bond, and they're filming TikToks and stuff, that they're very surprised that she's been dating her for as long, because I think they've only been dating for like 6 weeks. So they turn around and say like, wow, that's very surprising. And then even Jordan gives her a warning, like, oh, hey, yeah, you should be careful with Sophie. Sophie's, yeah. But the way she walks off after giving her that little message, it's definitely like, oh, I just sprinkled a little something. Like I put some doubt in your head. So now it's going to be kind of like, or whatever. And it is hinted at. It is never confirmed. But I don't know. I kind of want to say it very much seems like, I think it leaves it up to your own interpretation, that Jordan and Sophie definitely hooked up while B and Sophie were dating. Later in the film, it does become a little bit more apparent. And I just realized I didn't even go over the cast. So we got David P. Davidson's character. He's just, I wouldn't say like an insecure, like kind of a douche. They're all rich. It doesn't really matter like what level, but even to them, they're saying like, oh, like this person's like really rich and stuff. So even then between them, there's still levels to this shit. And then to me, it's like, bro, you guys are all fucking rich. You guys got nothing to worry about. Like, must be fucking nice. Then you got Sophie and B, already talked about them. Then you have Jordan, who's kind of the bitchy, confrontational, more blunt character. And then you have Emma, which is going to be David's girlfriend. She's, I think, former actress. Like, she's nice, but she's definitely not all there. And then we have Alice, my favorite character. That's Rachel Sennot's character. She is a trip, but like I said earlier, she's ditzy, she's self-centered, she definitely likes to have the attention. And then her new boyfriend is Greg, which they've only known each other just, I think she said like 2 weeks. They met on like Tinder or something. And Greg is kind of I don't know, he's kind of like a free-spirited kind of guy, like very like boots to ground. And Greg and Dave have like this weird thing going on where Greg is just like a chill, nice dude. And just Dave just doesn't like him for whatever reason. And he's constantly like trying to like undermine like whatever he's saying or whatever he's doing, or just trying to like kill his momentum of just being like a charismatic guy. And I think it leads to a little bit of like peacocking, or it feels like peacocking. Which, if you don't know what peacocking is, when you're a guy and you're friends with another guy, let's say like you and your friend, you go out and you guys meet some friends, and then like, you know, one of them happens to bring like a girl along or whatever. And then out of nowhere, that guy just like turns it up to 11. Like he doesn't really act like himself. It's usually pushed off as a joke with that friend that likes to be a lot more confrontational. Like, yo, fight me, bro. Or like, bro, let's race. Like they try to like puff up their chest, show their feathers, you know, that's what they try to do. They try to seem like, oh, I got all these attributes, like I'm cool, I'm the cooler one, I'm the faster one, I'm the stronger one, I'm the more good looking, I'm the smarter one, or like the more charismatic and outgoing, I'm the crazy one. Like they do all those things that are peacocking. I hate that shit, dude. I hated that when I was a kid. I still hate it now because it comes off as so cringe. It's like, bro, just be yourself, man. Like, God, don't fucking try to undermine or like put down people to make yourself look good. It's like, bro, you just look like a fucking douche. Like you're a prick. And honestly, only really insecure dudes do that. Like that's just how it is. They want to be noticed so bad. And so they do these types of things to get that attention. And unfortunately, sometimes it does work because people are just going to be drawn to it. But it's like, God, it's insufferable sometimes. So honestly, I can't stand it. But the hurricane finally starts. And then now they're doing all the drinking, doing the drugs, plenty of drugs. They pop a lot of pills, like prescription pills, like Xanaxes, and I think like Valiums and some other shit. So they do some stuff. I've never personally taken pills. I kind of want to stick to more of the homegrown stuff. Have I ever wanted to try some extracurricular chemically made stuff? Yeah, of course. I definitely would have liked to try like acid or maybe coke like once or like something along those lines. But nowadays it's fucking scary. I kind of feel bad for the youth because like the whole fentanyl thing, like it could just be me. I might just be looking at the news too much, but fentanyl is fucking scary. And just seeing how much it's like killing people and how like it's always getting laced with all these different things. I'm like, fuck, man, I never want to do any of this shit now. Like I don't even smoke weed anymore. I had this one really bad experience with weed that I never want to do again. It was right after Halloween. It was the next day. An old best friend from high school that I haven't seen in a long time. He came to the party that night. I wanted to see them. I was drunk, crying. Like I was a banana. I was dressed up as a banana, crying in my front lawn, like just laid out. It was a whole nightmare. It was one of my, not first times getting drunk, but it was, yeah, I got drunk. It was wild. And then he was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop by the next morning. I was all right, cool, man. Like, yeah, let's hang out. Like, you know, when things are like, when I'm sober, you know, it'd be nice to actually chill, catch up, maybe, I don't know, like mend this friendship a little bit, you know, because like distance and it created this gap. And so what happened was he came the next day and he's like, yo, well, let's smoke. The first thing in the morning when I woke up, he's like, hey, like, you want to do something? I was like, yeah, well, what's up? And this was back when I was really young. I could try like anything. I'm not going to go into details, but I was like, yeah, you know, I'm in. He's like, all right, what I'm going to do. So you see the cherry, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to put the cherry in my mouth. I'm going to hold the weed, like I'm going to close my lips. I'm going to hold the joint with my lips and I'm going to blow. The smoke is going to come out the other end in the thick stream. He's like, what I want you to do, hold one nostril closed and inhale it through your nose. Do that. Split second right after I did that, straight to the brain. I lean over and I throw up twice, like just ugh. It was the worst fucking feeling ever. And then I was high on my couch in like fetal position, like my legs up and everything, fetal position, with my eyes just like squint shut because, dude, I was terrified. I was way too high. I wanted to come down so bad. And ever since then, I felt like Smokey from Friday, where he had that angel dust or pixie dust, whatever, in his weed, and then he was like tweaking and shit. And then now every now and then he has that twitch. Now, not so much now because it's been so long, but anytime I would smell weed, I would get that weird shiver up my spine. And then if I did smoke, like whatever it may be, like joint, bong, whatever, if I took a hit, I immediately threw up again. So I had this visceral reaction to that. So now I can't get high. I don't even really like getting high anyway nowadays because I feel stuck and I'm just going to pass out eventually. So I prefer to drink. I'm a fun drunk. I like to have fun. I just like drink, sing, party, dance, whatever. That's what I like to do. That's how I vibe. But yeah, man, I'll never do that. And please, if you haven't tried it, don't do it. I do not recommend it. You will not enjoy it, or maybe you will. I don't know, but be responsible. But all right, so Sophie decides, yo, we're gonna calm this party down a little bit. We're gonna have fun now. We're gonna play the game. So she recommends they play Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So they all talk about it and they explain it to Greg and B. And how they start off this game is interesting. So I've like never seen it, but like I said, I wanna try this game. So they all have shots and then they all take turns slapping each other, which I think is a way to kind of instigate like those feelings to kind of make it a little more tense, because you have like I think it's just to like get the adrenaline going a little bit, in a sense, to like, all right, to get you a little angry so that way you play a little aggressive, or so that way when it comes to these meetings they like it's easy to point fingers because everybody's like now worked up. It's like, oh yeah, it's clearly this person, and so on and so forth. And man, a few of those slaps get pretty aggressive. Like it's pretty gnarly, especially Jordan. Jordan at one point slaps the hell out of B. Like she like full on bam, like just knocks her shit. And then there is another punch where Dave just straight up just decks Greg. And I think they filmed that for real, because I think Pete Davidson did ask Lee Pace if he could hit him, and I think he was cool with it. So they did film at least that one. I don't know if that's the shot they used, but I would imagine, why not? If you got a real punch, I mean, fucking use it, especially if everybody was cool with actually doing it. So they shut off all the lights and the game gets going. Now, doing some research for this movie, I noticed there was actually a theme to how everyone had lights, because you could go around with lights like flashlights and stuff. And there was actually some symbolism to all of that. So I want to read you a little something. B has her phone strapped to her hip, showing her selflessness for helping her mother and others. Jordan uses a headlamp, showing her spotlight for no-nonsense confrontation. Alice covers herself in glow sticks, showing her desire to be liked and the center of attention. Emma never uses a light, showing her desire to be introverted. However, Greg and David are never shown to use any light. That is interesting, and I think that's cool. I like that little detail. And then we hear our first body call. Somebody actually finds a dead body. First one, Greg. So he's committed the role, he's playing dead, and then eventually everyone starts to get concerned and even makes the audience think, oh shit, is Greg actually dead? But no, he's just playing dead just for shits and giggles. Dave comes up and just has a cold beer and puts it up to his nuts, and that wakes him up. So it's like, all right, so he's dead. And then they all have this debate about who it's gonna be. And the first one to accuse anyone is Jordan accusing B, saying like, oh, you know, it's a you, but they kind of do it amongst themselves. She does it to her. But then it becomes this whole thing. Everyone starts to think it's Dave. And then he starts to say it's Emma, and talking about how Emma is not saying anything. She just goes along with what everybody says. And man, they turn on each other so quickly with like, man, the conversation, it definitely gets heated and uncomfortable, where Dave, he's being a bit of an ass. And so Emma talks about how much David gaslights her all the time. And he says, you don't even, like, the word doesn't mean anything now because everyone just used it until annihilation. So like, you just read it on Twitter. Like, you don't have you don't have any original thoughts in your head. Like, that's all it is. And it just becomes this whole thing like, bro, what the fuck? And then Dave starts to get into some shit with Greg again. And Greg gets heated, obviously, because he got heated from earlier. He gets the point that he doesn't like him. So he just removes himself from any confrontational situations. This will be the second time he's already done that. So it's whatever. He goes off. He says he's going to bed. So that's him. That's it. Because he's already dead in the game. So he's no longer playing. And then Dave kind of gets voted out, saying that he's the killer. And he keeps saying he's not. Then he gets mad. He storms off. And then they go for round two. And I have to agree with him a lot. This moment really encapsulates how fucked relationships have really gotten. Like any type of relationship, friendship, you know, relationships with parents, anything like that. Because Emma brings up gaslighting and Dave says, oh, you know, the word doesn't mean anything anymore. Yeah, it's gotten so bad how people have started to weaponize mental health. Right now, we prioritize it. Over the last few years, it's starting to be taken more serious, which is great. But now people use it as excuses for their stuff. They start to weaponize it towards others. And even therapy talk, people who actually have gone to therapy, now I feel like that's just contributed these other bad factors to this ongoing conversation, because you got people using what they've learned in therapy when they're still not healthy. I'm not saying everybody does this, but when they're still not healthy and using this on other people because they seem smart and they barely know what they're talking about just because they know a little more and different terminology than the other person. So now you're making that person feel dumb, but also antagonizing and attacking them by going after their mental health or making them think that they actually have something else wrong with them when it's like you're the one abusing knowledge. And it creates this whole different conversation of how we've weaponized the terminology and the language itself of taking mental health serious to the point I think we're making it worse, because now we have people developing identity crisis, and it's this whole thing. It's now muddling everything now, because it's like everyone thinks they know what they're talking about, and then also they don't at the same time. But then you actually have people who do know what they're talking about, and then it's just like it's all getting lost in translation. It's all static. It's just, once it's been made into a weapon, it's a weapon. That's it. And that's all people are going to keep doing from now on. So honestly, we just got to do better. People just need to be more accountable of their own bullshit. And you can try to hold people accountable for their own, but you know you're in the wrong if you're definitely trying to use it to just dig at somebody even more, to just dig the blade in a little more. Then you should know you're in the wrong. So try to be a good person is pretty much what it comes down to. No relationships are really worth ending just over like small conversations that just got a little out of hand. Work things out, talk things out, try to handle it in a very logistical matter other than letting your emotions get the best of you, and it becomes this whole thing, and then things get said, feelings get hurt. It's not worth it, man. It's really not. It's all love. It should be all love. We just all have to do better. But all right, as we're starting round 2 of the game, lights go out. So now the hurricane officially takes out the lights. Before, it was just them turning off the lights, getting ready for the game. Now power's out, Wi-Fi's out, there's no reception. And we're following B throughout the house, and she's the one that finds David. David is outside and his throat is like sliced, and he's kind of like just, you know, going up against the glass, trying to get attention. So she draws the attention to everyone. They go outside, they see there, he's dying in their arms. So he's the first one to be officially killed. So they eventually go back inside, try to figure it out, like try to talk about these things. Like everyone's so lost because somebody just got killed. And then Jordan comes back with a blade, this sword that was mounted on the wall, and it has blood and is covered in mud. That's what was used to kill David, and the weapon was just discarded right there. So now they know, okay, somebody killed him. Like now they're like, okay, yeah, somebody killed him. Before it's like, okay, like what happened? Like, well, what's this? What accident? Like, why was he out there? Became this whole conversation. But now everyone knows. So a few people are speculating it's this other character, Max. And Dave has been walking around with a black eye because I guess the night before they got high on shrooms, and I guess he kind of had a bad trip, punched Dave, and then drove off, never to be seen again. So now we have this mystery character that is outside of the core group that we are following. And then even people like Jordan are saying, no, it couldn't have been him. Like it wouldn't be. So it's like, okay, well then who else could it be? It would have to be one of us. It really keeps you guessing because you have no idea. And then Greg is still nowhere to be found, so it's possible with him. And then they all talk about how they don't really know him. And that's when she lets it slip that she doesn't really know much about him. She doesn't even know his last name. So now a lot of people are thinking him because like, great. One, he's a guy, so it becomes this whole thing where like, oh yeah, the guy killed the other guy. Like it had to be him. Right? And the whole time that they're interrogating Alice is so funny because she just can't come up with anything. But Rachel Sennott, she kills it in this scene because the only thing she could say is like, oh, he's like a Libra moon rising or whatever the fuck. I don't know, some astrology shit. And they're just getting onto her like, bro, like you don't know this dude. Like, oh my God. You really get a sense at this moment. It's like, bro, this chick is dumb. And she's trying her best to defend her boyfriend, but she doesn't have anything to really go off of. And it's funny because now they're getting a little bit aggressive with her because like, look, you need to be on the same page. We need to know where he is. We need to go find him. And the whole time Jordan has a meat cleaver and just like waving it around because she wants to defend herself. So she's coming up to Alice, and Alice is like, all right, you're doing all these things. You have a knife. Like, you know, you're freaking me out. And so Jordan puts it down. And then she's trying to get her to be quiet because now she's trying to call Greg. But thing is, they don't want to alert Greg. They want to go and try to find him. They don't want him coming to them. So she tries to like shut her mouth and stuff, and then Alice is going like, "You're silencing me," like, you know, all this stuff. It's so fucking funny, dude. I love it so much. Like, Alice is a highlight of this movie. And so they go looking for Greg, and they go through his stuff, and it's so funny. This moment, this shows the separation, because Greg, I think, is like in his 40s, and then they're all in their 20s. So it shows how much they just don't know anything in this gap between them. So they go through his book bag, and they see like, oh, he has a knife in here, like it has a little sheath, like a little like hunting knife or something. And then they see a map with the house that it's marked. He has all this stuff in his bag. They're like, why does he have all this stuff? Like, what's going on? Not realizing he has a fucking map because he just uses old school shit. And then it's a hurricane. So he came prepared with materials. He has stuff in his book bag to, in case something goes wrong, he can use it. But for them, they see this, so like, oh shit, like it's him. And it's so funny because like, bro, what even? Like, I remember when we had to fucking use MapQuest, printing out papers to go from like Georgia to Florida. Like, bro, I remember all this. And then they see a map of the circle, just automatically assuming it was some other form of media. They're like, oh shit, like he was planning this. He was planning to come here to kill us. Like, it's like, bro, what the fuck are they talking about? But they eventually find him, and he's in this room, and he's doing like this light therapy mask thing. He has his headphones in, so they like surround him, and they do have these weapons. So they finally get him up, and he just thinks like, oh, you guys are still playing werewolf, like cool. And so he starts imitating werewolf and starts scaring them. And he's a big, tall, like muscular dude, so they're obviously frightened of him. So they start like running away from him. He's chasing them, just trying to have some fun. And so he notices, he's like, wait, like you guys have like knives, like, you know, like what's going on? Like, he's actively confused, so he doesn't know. He's not really taking it as a threat. And then they're like, oh, you know, like Dave's dead and you've been missing, and so on and so forth. And so they start giving these details and accusing him. He's like, wait a minute, like, whoa. And he eventually gets a knife, but and tries to fight him off a little bit, all because he wants to protect himself. Because I mean, there's a group of girls, like 5 girls, they all have like weapons. That's fucking scary, yo, and they're accusing you, and you're trapped like in a room. So he just wants to defend himself a little bit, have a little something. So it becomes a bit of the scuffle, and in the end, he unfortunately does get murdered. B comes up with like a weight, like a dumbbell, and just fucking like right in the back of the head, and he's fucking dead, bro. So the next person to actually get killed. So the men are already killed off. Both guys already off. And it becomes so fucked because Jordan actually uses this moment while B is traumatized, and Alice is definitely like heartbroken. She just saw her boyfriend get murdered in front of her. And Jordan is just like, and I quote, this is what she says: if you look at all of us, like on paper, logically, he is most likely to commit an act of violence. All because he's a fucking like 6 foot something, like pretty beefy dude. And all these are like tiny women. It's like, yeah, it would have been him most likely to do any of it. But so far from what we've seen in the movie, B is the only one seen killing somebody. So that's a little bit of sexism when you're like, yep, the guy would do it. The guy would totally do it. It's like not the case at all. And she talks it up for the fact that he was a vet. Alice is like, bro, what the fuck? Like, that's the reason you guys thought of this shit? He was a veterinarian's assistant. He was not a veteran. So honestly, bro, if I was her, I'd be fucking livid, and I would probably kill somebody right then and there. So a really good dude just got murdered for like no reason. So we're already 2 down, and B is like traumatized. You know, like that's fucking wild. Even the people with the weapons didn't attack him like that. She just grabbed a fucking dumbbell in the little like, gym area and just fucking hit him twice in the head with it. There you go. There is like a bit of remorse because she looks shocked, obviously, and then she kind of throws up from what she just saw and what she just did. So she throws up on herself and has to go get like a change of clothes. And because of all this, Sophie's like, you know, kind of losing it a bit. So she breaks her sobriety, snorts a line, does some pills. So now she's going on her shit. But now at this point, everyone's kind of weary of each other, so they're trying to like stay separated. And you see like different light sources, and now after like some heated conversations, people are just trying to stay away from each other a little bit. Like you don't know who you could trust. Everyone has a reason to like not like somebody else, which I think is good because usually the whole separation bullshit is always really dumb. They do it well here because now nobody really knows who they can trust, and the friendships are definitely getting strained right now. And they already were to begin with because of the past. Now it's like, oh, okay, there's stuff on top of it. But while walking around, another body is found, and this time it is Emma. Alice trips and falls on her body and notices, like, okay, her head's like bashed, so she like fell down the steps. So somebody shoved her down some steps. And so now Alice has the ammunition to say, okay, see, the killer is still here. It wasn't Greg, so Greg was killed for no reason. And so now they kind of start to point fingers, but now B is the one that gets pointed at a lot because she was the one that actually killed Greg, who is now an innocent man now that everybody sees. And they're just trying to say, oh, well, you know, you're the other person. You're the other unknown. Like, you could have done this and you killed somebody. We saw you do it. So they eventually kick her out the house in the rain. So she's just like wandering around, and they lock everything. And earlier in the film, we did see there was like this dog like door, so eventually that's where she finds her way in, but she goes back to the car and like sits there to get out of the rain. And whenever she finally makes her way back to try to find a way in the house, because she does remember that there was a dog door that she could go through, she's looking through like the windows, and then she sees Jordan actually get a gun. Like, she retrieves a gun from like this drawer or something. And earlier they were talking about guns. They were asking if there was any there because whenever they did assume it was Greg, they wanted to arm themselves with other stuff. But now we know Jordan actually has the gun, so it really looks like she's the killer now at this point. So she finally meets up with everyone else. So it's going to be Alice, Sophie, Jordan, and now B. So 4 of them are left, and she finally meets up with them. And so she tries to call out Jordan, saying, hey, Jordan has a gun. And then Jordan's able to show off her pockets, like, oh, I don't have a gun. I don't have anything. And she's wearing like this tight stuff, so you don't see the gun at all. And because B does have this mysterious aspect to her, because there isn't a whole lot of information, that's when she kind of spills the bean to Sophie. She wants to build trust and to where these people can kind of know her a bit. She spills the fact that, you know, she doesn't really have a job. You know, she is a foreigner. She doesn't go to school. She doesn't go to school where she told him that she went to school. What she would do is just go sit like at a mall or whatever and just act like she's been going to work or to school. So she's doing all this. She was kind of just trying to appear good enough for Sophie. She was trying to just kind of like lure her in. So it's a bit manipulative, yeah, but she is very introverted and has a hard time. Definitely has some like weird social cues, or maybe just lack thereof. So she's trying to like have friends, and she wants to be with Sophie. And obviously Sophie seems like this larger than life character compared to her. So, you know, being rich, having all these experiences. So she tried to play up a little bit of that too, when none of that's true, when all she does is try to take care of her mom. So she takes care of her mom, who has BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. So I guess some people, like in the old sense of films, how they try to depict like, oh, if somebody had like a mental disorder, they're the killer and stuff. So now it probably would make some people, and maybe even some of them, think, oh, well, her mom has that. Maybe she has something and now she's off the fucking deep end and killing people. Definitely not the case. And then Alice takes a fucking moment to try to relate, and it's like, oh yeah, like I have body dysmorphia. And then Jordan is like, oh my God, shut the fuck up, Alice. Because she tries to make it about her, and it's like, bro, those are like, God, they're not the same fucking thing. They're both tragic to have, but Jesus Christ, they're not on the same level. And so now, because of Sophie starting to actually trust B and like they hug and stuff, Jordan is like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm fucking over this shit. So she grabs the gun from a couch, where I guess she stuffed it in, and just starts waving it around. And this argument becomes a whole thing of everyone just kind of yelling at each other and calling each other out. And Alice has a podcast, and they even say earlier, they acknowledge it way earlier in the film, like, oh yeah, you know, like Sophie likes her podcast. It's like, oh my God, like cool. Like, she's excited. Like, I like when people tell me they love my podcast. Like, I was surprised, you know. I'm thankful for like the little viewership I do get. You know, it is nice. And there have been like other outside people who aren't friends that I don't even know who've seen it, who have made reviews and comments. And it's like, damn, that means a lot, man. I love when people compliment my work. That's probably the biggest compliment anybody can give me. So I really enjoy that. I take it to heart. It means a lot. And so they tell her like, oh, like her podcast like ass, like they don't like it. And she's like, look, it takes a lot of work to have a podcast, okay? There's a lot of planning and guests and stuff, and just all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like now I can relate. At the time, I didn't have this podcast. So now I can relate, like, okay, yeah, it does take a lot of work. You are putting yourself out there. And I do, even though I do talk about film, I try to talk about my own personal stories as well, because I want a bit of me in there as well, and also talking about the films I like and what I enjoy about them. So I completely get it, and it just becomes this whole thing. And then Jordan tries to tell B like, oh yeah, Sophie and I slept together before we even got here, and Sophie tries to deny it, but B did find like that underwear and bra combination. Jordan stuff, it was the bra, and then in the car was the underwear. So she kind of already knows, so she kind of cries. So it's kind of solidifying it, but still not 100% sure. Like, it's weird. Jordan is definitely weird in this movie. She's very confrontational. Even at one point, she seemed to be getting a little too involved with B, like whenever they were dancing together, like she kind of touched on her a little bit and just being really close. Like, the tension was weird. I'm like, what's happening here? Even Sophie looked at that like, huh, like, okay. So it's something. Something's off. So I don't know 100%. And so now Alice is just like offended to hell and starts going off on Jordan and starts attacking her character like verbally. And so she still has the gun. So in response of just her anger, once again, reacting emotionally, she just shoots her in the leg. And Alice just goes, did you just shoot me? Bro, Rachel is so good in this movie. Alice, the character, is so fucking great, and I love her so much. And the thing is, this is where it's hard for me to believe Jordan if they actually did anything, because she does like lie, like, no, I didn't. Like, I didn't shoot you. And it's like, you just did. Like, what are you on about? So she's not reliable to go off of. And so now Alice and Sophie, like they tackle Jordan, so they're all fighting for the gun. We already know how this is gonna go. We've seen this so many times in movies. Then the gun goes off, and unfortunately, man, my girl Alice dies, man. RIP, bro. That's so sad. She gets killed. She's dead right there on the carpet. It's unfortunate, man. Gun safety, man. Learn gun safety. Shit. And it's fucking wild, and Jordan is still like in denial of everything that she actually did that. And it's just insane. So now it's down to these three people. So now we're down to Jordan, like this love triangle. Jordan, the ex, then we got Sophie, who's like the one in the middle, who's dated both of these people, and then B. And so far, the only people who've actually killed people are now Jordan and B. And so Sophie tries to talk her down and is just trying to get the gun, but they make their way upstairs. She keeps Jordan keeps walking back. She just wants distance. She's the one with the gun. And B gets a jump on her. They actually fight over a little bit. And then eventually they just end up throwing Jordan's ass over the railing into some like bottles, like glass, and like the table. And right before Jordan is like gonna die from her wounds, like, the fall and stuff, she's pointing the gun, trying to shoot at them again, and tells B to check Sophie's text messages. So now, down one more. So now it's just down to Sophie and B. And I've been waiting until this point to point out this fact. This was something I noticed after, and it was also confirmed on IMDb. Whenever Sophie and B first arrived to the house, everyone is in the pool and they're all underneath just holding their breath. Everybody that was in that pool died. So the only two people left alive were Sophie and B, and they weren't in the pool. So that already gives away like everything right there. I mean, granted, you didn't know it, but yeah, everybody who's gonna die was in the pool in the very beginning of the film. I like when movies kind of do that. They kind of hint to you a little thing like that. That's pretty awesome. And after they ran away from Jordan, I guess they thought she would still be alive, so they ran, they hid, and they start talking a bit. And Sophie still denies the fact that she slept with Jordan. And B is like, all right, I feel like I can't trust you. Like, so she just books it, runs away. So now it's just them two in this big ass house. And so they hide away from each other until the sun comes up, till it stops raining. And then now B tries to make her way out. She collects the gun from Jordan. So she's outside trying to just make a getaway. And then in a very scary sense, like, bro, this would have scared the shit out of me. Like, and her having a gun, I would have already like probably turned and like shot somebody. But Sophie comes up and just like puts her arms like all around her like shoulders and stuff, and it's like hugging her, and is like trying to like work it out. But this is when B finally just brandishes the gun. It's like, well, you need to step the fuck back. Like, you did something. Like, something's not right here. And then this is like so weird that this would be a thing, but this is how far people would probably go just protect a lie. So I think this is probably where the confirmation comes from that they definitely did cheat together. B asks for a phone to see the messages, and then Sophie just tosses it in the mud, and they just both go for it. They're trying to find it. So now they got the gun, they got the phone, like it's all weird. So now it's not even about all the people that just died. Now it's about, oh, did you actually do this? Did you lie about this? So it's like this whole other scenario when there are bigger things to worry about. You know, at this point, I wouldn't have trusted her to begin with. I still would have left. I would have just pointed the gun and be like, I'm leaving. I don't go, fuck. If you did or you didn't, I'm going home. I'm getting out of here. I'm calling the cops, like something. And then whenever they finally get the phone and they go to look at it, they realize it's not even Sophie's phone. It's David's phone or Dave's phone. I can't remember which name he actually goes by. David, same shit. They have one phone to where they could probably call the police and shit. So facial recognition, they go up to his body, they use it to unlock the phone, and then you'll never fucking guess what they found. And one of the funniest, and I think my favorite death in this movie, they realize the TikTok app is open and there's a video that's ready to be edited. He was filming a TikTok outside of him holding a champagne bottle and the sword to like slide and cut the cork off, because that's something Greg did earlier, and he did it with no problem, just shot it off like crazy. And earlier, David definitely felt some type of way, like, oh, like, why you got my sword? Like, why are you grabbing shit? But then he recreates it because he wants to do the same thing. So he was definitely jealous. He had the attention that he got from that. He's like, all right, I'm gonna film a TikTok. But he was failing miserably, so he kept trying in all these different ways and not using proper etiquette when cutting something. He didn't cut away from him, so he's tried cutting towards him. And this is where he fucking slashes his own neck. So he kills himself, and because everybody just couldn't figure out things logically, like try to figure it out of what was going on, didn't notice, like, I guess his phone was recording or anything, they all jumped to the conclusions he was murdered, and then little by little murdered other people. The theme of just social media addiction and, like, you know, trying to fit in and just, you know, being obsessed with like reception and stuff. Like, God, you take away reception and Wi-Fi, people are going to lose their fucking minds, especially nowadays, because it's so important and ingrained in our culture and society. It's strange. And so finally we get to see who Max is. Max finally comes back and he sees like the place is trashed. They're all like, they got blood, mud, like what the fuck? So he asks, what happened? And B, concerned about this, nobody's really acknowledging any of the dead bodies or anything anymore. She just goes, I have reception. There you go, man. There you fucking go. But yeah, man, that is bodies, bodies, bodies. It is insane how this whole movie turned out. It's so wild, and I can't believe it. It's funny. I know in the original script there was supposed to be a killer, but I like how they changed it, where it's just the stupidity of these people and just the irrationality that led to the downfall of everyone. That is Bodies, my favorite kill. Like I said, David, that was the funniest shit. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is only like an hour and like 34 minutes. So definitely give it a watch. I think it's on Netflix right now as I'm recording this and stuff. So watch it. It's worth the watch. It's really funny. Have a drink, have a smoke, something, enjoy it. And hopefully one day you get to have at least an experience of playing this game, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I would love to one day. If anybody out there is ever going to try it, but not actually kill people at the same time, I would love to be there. It would be fantastic. It'd be a great time. That's where it's going to end for now. And once again, I'm sorry that this was coming late, but you know, before I send you guys off to possibly my next episode into obscurity or whatever the fuck, I got to give you your fortune cookie, man. Good instincts are worthless if you don't follow them. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Do with that what you will. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the podcast.